No way this story is real, right? Because what you're about to hear sounds less like politics and more like a dark crime thriller. The Epstein files are back, and this time they're reigniting one of the most disturbing scandals in modern American history. Thousands of pages, years of secrecy, and allegations that refuse to disappear. Recently, the U.S. Department of Justice released nearly 30,000 additional documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender who died in federal custody in 2019. These files weren't leaked, they weren't stolen, they were released under a transparency law passed by Congress. But instead of bringing clarity, they raised even more questions. Buried deep inside the documents is a handwritten note dated August 13, 2019. It's signed J. Epstein and addressed to Larry Nassar, the former USA gymnastics doctor who was sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing hundreds of young girls. The timing alone is chilling. Epstein wrote the note just days before his death, while awaiting trial in a New York jail. The language in the letter is disturbing and has sparked intense backlash. In it, Epstein appears to make crude and offensive claims, including a reference to our president, allegedly sharing an attraction to very young girls. The letter does not mention any name directly, offers no evidence, and comes from a convicted criminal. Still, the implication alone was enough to explode across media and social platforms. The Justice Department quickly responded, stating that some documents in the Epstein files contain untrue and sensationalist claims, particularly those involving President Donald Trump. Officials emphasized that the presence of an allegation in the files does not mean it is credible or verified. That distinction is critical, yet many critics argue that releasing such material without full context only fuels speculation.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
Donald Trump has acknowledged knowing Epstein socially in the past, as have many public figures. Photographs and past comments confirm that they crossed paths years ago. However, Trump has repeatedly denied any involvement in Epstein's crimes and has stated that he cut ties with Epstein long before his arrest. To date, Trump has not been charged or convicted in connection with Epstein's criminal activities. Still, the controversy doesn't stop there. Among the newly released materials were references to flight records, internal emails, and surveillance footage. One video, reportedly related to Epstein's final hours, was briefly published and then removed without explanation. That sudden disappearance only intensified public suspicion and reignited long-standing doubts surrounding Epstein's death. Survivors, lawmakers, and legal experts have also criticized how the files were released. The Epstein Transparency Act required the DOJ to publish all relevant materials at once, with limited redactions only to protect victims or active investigations. Instead, documents have been released in waves, heavily redacted in places where redactions appear unnecessary, and even taken down and reposted multiple times. For many, this isn't just about one letter or one individual. It's about power, accountability, and a system that allowed a serial abuser to operate for decades while surrounded by wealth and influence. Epstein wasn't acting alone, but determining who enabled him, ignored warning signs, or failed to act remains an unresolved question. What makes this story so unsettling is that it lives in the gray area between proven facts and deeply troubling allegations. Some claims may be false, others may never be fully investigated. But once these documents enter the public record, they reshape public trust forever. The Epstein files were meant to bring transparency and closure. Instead, they've reopened old wounds and ignited new outrage. As more documents surface and scrutiny intensifies, one thing is certain: this story is far from over, and the truth, whatever it may be, continues to cast a long shadow over the most powerful institutions in the world.